Hey everyone, it's Mark Hayward here from the Absolute Business Mindset podcast and YouTube channel. I just want to say today, thank you so much. It is my 400th episode in just over 4 years. So thank you for everyone who has downloaded, who has listened, who has subscribed to my podcast and my YouTube channel. You do not believe. I don't think you're going to understand how much it means to me that I've been able to do this journey, get all the way to 400 episodes in 4 and a bit years. I am so excited to have been on this journey, and this is not the end. This will be going to continue to 500, 600, etc. So what we're going to do today is we're going to have a little conversation. We're going to have a think about, I'm going to think about some of the things that happened over this journey and share them with you. Hopefully you'll see some value in this. I'll be talking about some of my experiences, some of my thoughts, some of the things we've spoken about, and some of the people that we've met on this journey. But let's go back to the 12th of December 2017, where I started my podcast. It was an audio only version and it was really badly made. It was really poor quality. But at that time, I was moving from an administrator to a consultant, and in a corporate company. And this passage was really important to me. It meant that I was able to move into the consultancy side of the business, which has then been a really successful part of my life. The sound quality and was not that great, I have to be honest, but I wanted to get something out there and share something and prepare myself and do things that would put myself outside my comfort zone. So the plan was to release solo content where I was there just talking about business, my experiences, things that I was reading about, learning about, and I wanted to share them with the world. There was nothing particularly grand. I wanted it to be a huge show, but I just wanted to be able to get it out there, to be able to just develop as a person beyond the realms of just the job that I was doing. So I created a catchphrase which stuck for a long time, which was a corporate employee with an entrepreneurial mindset. And I think a lot of my success in the business, in the corporate world, was that I was doing things differently with an entrepreneurial mindset rather than a fixed mindset, which sometimes it can happen in the corporate world. So as I said, I was talking about theories, observations, ideas, and experiences regarding business. Um, I actually waited 15 months until my first interview, and I was probably releasing 1, 2, sometimes 3 pieces of content a week, sort of 10 minutes, 15 minutes, sort of thoughts about how I could help you about the theories, the observations, the experiences that I had. But I joined a podcast mastermind, and I went there and I worked with them and I spoke to them and I shared with them. And one of the members said, "Why don't you come and interview me? We can start the process for interviewing on your podcast." So I went there on a Sunday morning to his house where he had a small studio, and we did an hour-long interview. So big shout out to Andy Arter for the inspiration to be able to do interviews as part of my podcast. And so I started to slowly build up the people that I was interviewing. I was interviewing friends, colleagues, people that I'd met from social media. It was very much a very close-knit people that, if you go back to those interviews, they weren't particularly great from content point of view, but I needed to go through that journey to be able to be better as a host and an interviewer. So on the 3rd of November 2019, it was my 100th episode, where I answered questions like what my favorite episode was, what's most important to me, what was the most fun, who my favorite guest was. And you can go back to that episode to be able to see some of those things that I was starting to experience and I was starting to share with people. So as I said, I was releasing sort of 3 pieces of content a week, short, sharp bursts on top of the interview that I was doing. And we weren't doing it every week, the interview, but they were starting to get more and more important to me by doing that. So by sort of early 2020, January 2020, I then started regularly interviewing people. And we're going to talk about a couple of the series that I've done part of this podcast. So on the 30th March 2020, I started a new series called Working from Home. Now, I was still working in my corporate job. It was very relevant to me and the experiences that I had going through COVID. And I kind of thought it would be really important to share best practices, things that I was seeing, things that were working, things that weren't working. And there's a consecutive release once a week on that Working from Home series. So that was very personal to me. And I felt I needed to share some best practices with people. On another milestone was the 10th of May 2020, and I interviewed who has now become my business partner in Podcast Introduction Group, a podcast agency, guest agency, with my business partner, George McGarren. And this was the start of a turning point where I was able to start the business. I actually went through a second interview with him, and then we started thinking about the business. Another series that I went through started on the 20th of June 2020, after sort of 6 months worth of working from home content, was Mindset Monday. This for me wasn't so great. It was an attempt to try and showcase growth mindset and how you can get the right mindset for great business, great experiences, great life. In retrospect, it wasn't the greatest of series, but it was important to me at the time to be able to share those thoughts with you. Third series on the 14th of Jan 2021, which was Small Business Thursday. So this was actually another one that was quite close to my heart, because it was talking about how we could get better at being small businesses, and where I was starting to work, where I was then working in small businesses, my own businesses. It was something that was very important to me. Now, what I do every year is I do an episode on mental health when it's Mental Health Week. It's important to me, and it's a subject that is very, very close to my heart. And I feel it's important to do that every year to showcase mental health. And sort of, we've all been through, or most people have been through, some sort of difficulty when it comes to mental health. And I feel it's important to showcase that and be able to talk about things that we sometimes, it was a bit of a taboo for men. A lot more men are now talking about it. People are experiencing and sharing, and therefore that's really important. And I think it's important that we all try and support each other, men and women, whatever your background, whatever your race, or nationality. I think it's important that we sort of showcase that mental health affects everyone. It does not discriminate against anyone at all. Anyone can go through hard times, depression, upset, trauma. All these things are super important that we are talking about, and that's why every year when it's Mental Health Week, I will talk about it. One of my most popular episodes was a bit of a surprise to me. Walter Delabere, who was the CEO and founder of Mangtas, which is a tech company in Singapore, has done really, really well. And I was not expecting it, but it's been a fantastic, popular episode. Please do check it out. It's a really, really good one. And I think that's something that, as I said, it was a surprise, but a pleasant surprise. So what I ended up doing was, in 2021, I had weekly interviews, which was so much fun. Whether it was learning, exploring, asking, sharing knowledge and experience, personal views, getting myself as a better interviewer. And I definitely feel now I'm in a much better space, being able to interview some really great guests. And it's been a journey. It's been a long time to be able to get there, where I feel confident and comfortable with the content that I'm producing. Now, just a shout out to some of the people. I don't think I've got everyone, but some of the people that I've interviewed twice. Now, that is kind of rare. It doesn't happen to everyone. If I feel there's a particular connection with these people, and I think there is a second episode available that is important and could be shared, then I do have a second interview. Couple of shouts out to George McGarren, Stephen Kuhn, Angel Ribbo, Massimo Jordan, Ollie Phillips, Chris Marhefka, and Mark Hirschberg. They are people that I've connected with, and I really feel something that their business is amazing, and I feel that they should be showcased again. Often the second interview is less structured. It's a bit more of a chat about what their thoughts are, their experiences are in certain situations. But I do enjoy those second episodes. So it's probably something I'm going to start doing a little bit more, is just recycling some of these guests, because there's more to explore with them. It's not just a one episode. I feel that if I get that connection and I can make it work, then I will have more of those second episodes. So I just want to say that I feel super lucky to have been this podcast to be a part of my life. It's been tough through difficult periods to be able to consistently release content, but I've had these things that have been sticky wickets in my life. But I'm glad I've stuck with it and been able to keep on producing content. I think that leaving the corporate career was a big step for me. Changing my job before that, changing my job from a company that I'd worked for 12 years into a new company. Having multiple bereavements, which I spoke about on my podcast, which was very tough, and being able to keep on producing content through those difficult times was really, really tough, but I managed to do it, which I'm very proud of. Having kids, life sometimes getting ahead of yourself and not being able to, trying to stop you from doing something that you're passionate about and things that you love doing. So lastly, I am super proud of myself, and it's been a great experience. Amazing relationships. Relationships are really important to me, whatever the business, whatever the guest, and in other parts of my businesses, relationships are so important. And just lastly, this has been the most amount of fun that I've had. It is such an integral part of my life now, and I would like to continue, and I would like to grow the podcast. So if you know anyone that is going to find value from this podcast, please do share it. If you're on Apple Podcasts or on Google Podcasts or on Spotify, please do give it a share. Please do give a comment. A comment really helps as well. And if you're watching this on YouTube, all the normal stuff, give it a like, give it a subscribe, hit the bell icon, add your comments below. But lastly, thank you so much for your support. I know some of my audience have been with me from relatively early doors, and I really appreciate that support and what you've done to keep this channel moving forwards, and your support means so much to me. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I genuinely am thankful for it. So 400 episodes down, this is the end of the episode. On to 500, on to 600, on to 800. Let's keep going. Let's keep producing content, and hopefully you're enjoying it as well. So thank you very much. Have a lovely day. Enjoy your day, and I will see you next week.